Joining me now on the John Fredericks Radio Network, Trucking the Truth, Walter Jones, Congressman in our coverage area, Northeast North Carolina, District 3, voted no, or would have voted no, on the Ryan Care, what I called crony care plan, and that went down on Friday, never came to a vote. Now he's got new legislation on Afghanistan, lots to talk about. Joining us now, Congressman Walter Jones. Congressman, good to have you with us, sir, as always.
I feel much safer now knowing you're in D.C. Thank you for being here and protect us.
Well, I don't know about that, but it is good to be here in our D.C. studio, which you'll have to come by sometime live, 1717 really. Pennsylvania Avenue, just a little place where I got a great view right here of the White House, and so we can kind of keep things in perspective. Look, we had you on a week ago. You were adamantly opposed to crony care, as I called it. Sean Spicer at the press briefing yesterday finally gave a number. He said they had 207 Republicans in favor of it, 9 short. I don't know where they got 207. I thought there was way over 9, but that's just me. I'm not going to doubt what he said. But,
John, he knows how to spin things. That's why he has his job, because I tell you, if they were that close, the bill would have been on the floor. They were probably at least 25 to 30 short.
That's what I've got. I think if it went to the floor, they would have got beat by about 28. So I'm not sure where he got 9, but it is what it is. It doesn't matter because it never got there. What happens now with Obamacare, Congressman Jones?
Well, the White House is now saying, along with the leadership, that we're going to try to rework a bill and try to get it to the floor. But, you know, John, we got so many that got the debt ceiling increase coming up in about 4 weeks. Mr. Trump still wants to try to get a tax bill through, infrastructure bill. I mean, all this in the first year. That's a really quite a overload of a schedule, but it can be done because we're doing other things as well. We're going to talk about my bill about the Afghan, I'm sure, a little bit later. But I don't know. They might, in all honesty, feel that they've got to try to tweak, if not anything else, significantly the existing health care law, but I don't know anything more than that at this point. Probably no more after Easter, to be honest with you.
All right, so are you in favor of just, we had Tom Garrett on a couple of minutes earlier from Virginia. He's in favor of just repealing it. He says you should go back to the repeal and see who's serious and who's not, and then if you can't get out of committee, just have a discharge petition in repealing it. Mo Brooks has a bill, 1 page. I think I had the number here, HB 1436. That was Jim Jordan's bill. Are you in favor of just having a vote to repeal it and see where everybody stands or not? Or do you think that's just political theater?
Well, I mean, health care is a critical issue to all of us, including me. I think that you cannot, I mean, I voted 40 times to repeal before we became the majority with the president in the White House. I just think, John, you've got to have an alternate plan if you're going to repeal, because if the people of this country start thinking that the Republican Party doesn't care about my family's health care, we got a serious problem. I think a repeal is fine, and I think I agree with Tom on that. But you've got to have something you can put in almost day after you vote to repeal, or you're going to have chaos. We got enough chaos right now. So I think the repeal is fine. I've supported repeal, would again, but tell me we got a package to put in to replace.
And now we don't have anything. That's what we didn't
do. I mean, this is the whole thing of, you know, I've talked, you've had me on many times, and I greatly appreciate it. You had the fellow that wrote the book, Schweitzer, that wrote the book Extortion.
Yes.
This is where I think we missed it with the people. I said this on your show, I'm going to say it very quickly. We should take this period of time, let the American people know that we want to hear from them. It doesn't mean we're going to do it. We can't do everything that the people want, whether they're for the plan or against the plan. But we never actually heard from the people. We just put a bill on the floor and said, this is it, take it or leave it. And that's what got the leadership in trouble.
Oh, you're absolutely correct. No question about it. So let's get everybody together and get up with a better plan. The other thing I could never understand about Ryan Care is why they were jamming it down everybody's throat so fast, and they had this arbitrary deadline of Thursday or then Friday that it didn't matter. I mean, it just didn't matter. They didn't have it right. It was not right. So I don't know why they couldn't wait on it. So,
well,
but
John,
anyway,
you're right. And the silly thing was they wanted to pass the bill 6 years after President Obama has signed it into law on the exact day. I mean, and that was silly in itself. We don't care. I don't care what happened 6 years ago. I care about today and tomorrow. And if we can hold off till May or June and have a really bill that takes care of the cost of insurance and some of the other concerns about insurance and coverage at an affordable cost, I mean, why not, to your point, is my point, why not wait to May or June?
Yeah.
Just get it right.
What was the rush? Yeah, get it right. That's the whole thing. Get it right. They never got this one right. Okay, I got to move on. A couple other big issues. Congressman, let's get to your bill on Afghanistan.
Yep.
Critical piece of legislation you're putting together. I want everybody to come down on it. Could you share with our audience what it is and how it's going to work?
Yeah, John, the bill number is H.R. 1666. I have put this bill in, and I've been joined by John Garamendi from California and 3 other Republicans and 3 other Democrats, and we put the bill in a week ago. It is my belief that we have done enough in Afghanistan. $800 billion we have spent, 2,000 Americans have been killed, 20,000 wounded, and we keep putting money down a black hole when our country's going financially broke. All that John and I are trying to do with H.R. 1666 is to have a debate on the floor of the House. The debate on the floor of the House will say that if this bill passes after it's signed by the President of the United States, within 1 year we will start bringing the troops home. We will have enough troops there to protect the embassy. We'll still do our special ops work, but no troops walking the grounds of Afghanistan. If you don't agree with what we're doing in the bill, then vote against it. The whole point is we don't debate any of this stuff anymore. We've been there 16 years. Do we want to be there another 16 years to make it 32 years? Hell, we'll be financially broke. I mean, they're buying goats over there. $6 million for 9 goats, paying ghost soldiers that don't exist. 200,000 can't even identify where the money went. I mean, it is so crazy. It's almost like I'm in a fantasy world. I just can't believe it. And so all we're trying to do is to say that we should, as members of Congress, after 16 years of any policy, bring it to the floor of the House and let the members have a debate of whether they want to start a process of coming home or stay there for 100 years. Just give us a vote. That's all we're trying to ask for.
Well, that also means if you're going to stay, somebody's going to have to define the objective. Somebody's going to have to give an authorization of military force if we send any other troops there. AUMF, we haven't had that. We're still hiding behind what President George W. did in 2001. We're still hiding behind that law. So that way, that way nobody has to come down on it. We just stay there in perpetuity and nobody has to make a decision. I got to tell you, Congressman, I think what you've just outlined, Congressman Walter Jones, let me get the number right, which is H.R. 1666, which basically, just to paraphrase it, we've been in Afghanistan 16 years. You want it to come to the floor of the House of Representatives for debate, and you want to vote. And, I mean, who would not be in favor of this? And if you're in favor of us staying there, go on the floor, make your speech, and get 200 and whatever the number is, get 216 people. But, I mean, this thing goes on in perpetuity without any oversight or anybody saying anything. And there's a lot of people, and I tell you, Congressman, and I keep saying this because a lot of people forget now, when Trump's rise happened, he campaigned on getting us out of these wars, right? He was very clear on that. And the other day, 2 weeks ago, we sent 250 Marines into Syria, no AUMF, No declaration. Just send them there. I asked Sean Spicer at the Daily Presser about it on TV. He says, they're advisors. I'm like, well, that's what Jack Kennedy said in 1961. Yep. Meantime, I go to the DOD, I dig, I find out these 250 advisors are manning artillery. And what the hell kind of advisor is that? I mean, nobody is authorizing this, and I think John, you're onto something. To me, that is absolutely critical, right?
Well, I hope that we just put the bill in a week ago. We wanted to do the national show, and then we're going to really start pushing it as soon as we get back from Easter. And I will tell you, if any member of Congress won't sign this bill to have a debate, then they ought to leave Congress because they're not doing their constitutional duty and responsibility. There's nothing more important than sending a young man or a woman to die for this country. And it's our responsibility. It's not the executive branch. Madison said it better than I could ever say it. It is the legislative branch that has the responsibility of debate and vote, not the executive branch. He was very clear. I'm paraphrasing very badly, but he was very clear about that.
And, Congressman, all you're asking for is a debate.
Right. That's all we're asking for, a debate.
I mean, HR
we're going to push on this. We're going to push.
You push hard. Get me involved. Have anybody you want to get me involved. I stand 100% behind you on this because this isn't, just so everybody knows, Walter Jones didn't put in legislation in order to withdraw us from Afghanistan. He put in legislation to debate whether or not we should continue there after how many? 16
years.
He wants to have a debate. He wants to go on the floor and have people explain, if we're going to stay, why the hell we're there, what we're going to do, what the plan is. And just like you said, if the plan is stay there in perpetuity, then make the argument.
Right. That's right, John.
What frustrates people about Congress is they'll somehow try to bottle this up so nobody can ever has to come down on it. Just like with repeal, we went through Tom Garrett saying, you know, if he's got to submit a discharge position to get people to sign it, he will. But I think we're in a new era where people want their congressmen to be accountable and responsible one way or the other for what is going on. So I applaud you with that. And I'll tell you right on the air, anything that you need from me in the media, in any platform, have your people let me know, and I'll do everything I can.
Well, I'm going to get back with you after Easter, John, because you articulated much better than I did, and that's all we're asking for. Is give us a chance to say, yes, we need to start coming home from Afghanistan, or no, we want to stay there for 100 years.
Yeah, and then
we will be
broke
why. As a nation.
Right, exactly. And we're fighting everybody else's battles. And, you know, a lot of people, congressmen, are making a lot of money off these wars. They make billions of dollars.
Absolutely.
And our sons and daughters come home in body bags and no limbs. And
That's
so,
right.
Really, these 250 Marines we just sent to Syria, I don't know who they're fighting for, what their objective is, why they're there, why we're involved. We have no strategic interest. And we're sending troops to Syria under the guise of advisors, and now we find out they're manning artillery. I mean, that's some advisor. I mean, firing a bazooka, what kind of advisor is that?
When we start having 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 Americans killed overseas, then you're going to see Congress raise some hell about it, I can promise, because I'll be one of them to do it.
Well, what we're trying to do is hope that doesn't happen. See, that's what we don't want to have.
You know, I tell you, if we had the draft in place, the American people would be so engaged with the fact that an administration sends all these people over there without an act of Congress. Sure. We could change the policy then, but we don't have the draft anymore.
It had happened in 3 days. If we simply said we're going to war, we need two things. We need a draft, and we're going to have a tax increase to fund it. See how long that would last, right?
Yeah,
See, we hide behind all this stuff. Trillions of dollars in debt, volunteer army, no AUMF. The whole thing is just, we got to get out of these wars. Okay, I got about 4 minutes. Yesterday, Walter Jones, first Republican to call on House Intel Committee Devin Nunes to recuse himself from leading the Trump staff Russian investigation. Democrats have called for it, Adam Schiff, Nancy Pelosi, etc. You're the first Republican to do this, sir. Why?
Well, I think he, as leader of the committee, made a bad mistake when he decided that he would sneak over to the White House and review some classified information. He should have called the committee together in a classified setting and say, look, I want you to know I'm going to go to the White House. There's information I've been asked to review. When I come back, we go back into a classified setting, and I'll tell you what I know. But for him to take it upon himself without telling the committee of anything, not even his own staff, what he was doing, I think tainted his ability to lead this committee. I wrote Paul Ryan a letter yesterday asking him if he would to please consider an outside independent commission to look into this relationship. Whether there is a relationship or not, we need to look into it. But I think that Nunes has hurt himself and his credibility. If you don't have credibility as a chairman with those who serve both parties, Republican and Democrat, then you've lost your moral authority.
All right, well, Nunes is saying, let me just give you the rebuttal. Nunes is saying, I got access to intelligence that shocked me and took my breath away, so to speak, and it had to do with what was going on in the White House with President Trump. So I went over there to talk to him, and he said, look, what difference does it matter who I talk to first? I apologize. I told Adam Schiff, my vice chair ranking member, but I believe that I had to go to the White House and tell the president, and they're saying, why are we focused on the process and why aren't we focused on the information he found out? And what difference does it make who he told ahead of who? How do you respond to that?
Well, there's one thing he postponed about 3 or 4 days of hearings to begin with, which I think that was wrong, but that's his call. He is the chairman. But the fact is, again, what he told them after he went, he should have told them before he went. That's my point. You're the committee chairman. It's a very hot-button issue. You say to the committee before you go to review the information, I'm going to go review information. How did the members find out, Republican, Democrat? They found out from the press. That's not the way to run a committee, particularly a national issue that is so important to knowing the truth.
All right, sir. That is going to be the final word. I want to thank Congressman, North Carolina 3rd District Republican Walter Jones for being with us. And, Congressman, I want to commend you for putting in H.R. 1666 and trying to get clarification on our situation in Afghanistan. I appreciate that. And as always, you are the king of candor, no question. Thanks for being here, sir.
John, thank you so much. God bless, sir. Bye-bye.
All right, it's always good to have Congressman Walter Jones. You want more information? Oh, it's real easy. You just got to go to walterjones.house.gov. walterjones.house.gov. This is the John Fredericks Radio Network, Trucking the Truth.